Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Hello, friends. Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe coming to you on Sunday afternoon, just about 4 o'clock. About 90 minutes before the Cowboys tip, I think. Tip, that's not right. Kickoff. The Dallas Mavericks just lost to the Los Angeles Clippers 112-98 at home. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. This was a pretty dispiriting game. The Mavericks got spanked in the second half. I'm trying to do the quick math. They got outscored 66 to... Oh my gosh, I can't do math, but enough.
I hear you.
Yeah. Wait. 66 to 34. So it was not a very close second half. A lot of really I think what I did not like about this game was, one, I didn't like the energy effort level. There was a lot of bad body language, I think, in this game from a lot of different guys.
Yep.
And then the second thing is this felt like a bad habit game. This was not a game where the Mavericks were doing what they were supposed to do and they got snake bitten. The Mavericks lost this game because they were doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Right.
I thought the process in this game was horrible. I mean, I can't really sugarcoat it, from coaching decisions, lineups, offensive strategy, defensive strategy. This was a very poor effort from the coaching staff all the way to everyone who played in the game, I think.
Yeah, and it's not fair, but I think it has to start with Luka Doncic. He finished off with a pretty good stat line. He looked out of whack, out of sorts. He let the refereeing really bother him, and he never really recovered. This was a game where, depending on your point of view, you can say, and honestly, this is not a number of recent games he's looked like this. And you could say, all right, we're approaching game 50. He's probably tired. He's probably frustrated about, kind of the lack of consistency, health, whatever you want to, and all these things add up. And, he gets a tech, which was like his 11th tech of the season. Like, he's cruising. It's too early in the season for him to do this shit. And I get why. Like, it would be just fantastic if the fucking head coach ever did anything to stand up for his player. But also, Luka, stop getting techs. Stop showing everybody up. Tell Jason Kidd, go to Jason Kidd and say, I want you to get a technical foul for me. Say those words. I bet he'll do it. I bet he will. Kid's a team player.
Yeah, that stuff sucks. It really
and everything from there from Luka was just kind of off key. That then I think and I'd like you to sort of talk about this. If they're going to go small, which, I mean, they don't really have a choice, because if we agree JaVale McGee is not an answer, then the kind of heavy switching and help and recover defense, first guys can't be getting beat off the dribble every time. Luka, Dinwiddie, and Bullock were awful on defense today.
Yeah, Bullock had some really bad closeouts against Norman Powell, and Powell had a really nice fourth quarter. He got to the free throw line 5 times because they doubled Kawhi. Like it was kind of funny how similar it was. Kawhi would dribble into like a little short post up into the right corner. They'd swing the ball to the wing or corner. The Mavericks would wildly close out and not even come close to like, staying in front of their guy because they were just wildly trying to get the shooter off the 3-point line. And that guy would catch the ball and dribble all over the rim and get fouled or get a layup.
Well, the doubling didn't work last time. I spent like 300 words on this. And this is the sort of stuff where I get unhappy with the coaching staff. And I am correct. Because if it doesn't work the first time, going back to it again is the definition of insanity. I would rather Kawhi Leonard score 60 points, tire his ass out, instead of letting Norman Powell cook you all the time. That was annoying.
Yeah, I mean, they doubled Kawhi and he still finished with 30 on 18. Like, it didn't like, not only did you let guys like Powell and Batum and Paul, some other guys get some like buckets that they maybe shouldn't have. Like, Kawhi still scored 30. Like, the Clippers still had 3 guys in double figures. Like, you double Kawhi because you're like, we're not, we'll live with the other guys. We don't think that they can beat us. And the Clippers didn't shoot a particularly great percentage, but Batum was 2 of 5 on threes. Jackson was 2 of 3. Powell was 2 of 5. Like everyone else kind of chipped in just enough, and that's all it really took.
Well, it's a really damning coaching performance. The more I look at this box score, because they played a playoff rotation, the Mavericks did. They played 7 guys plus Davis Bertans for 7 minutes, and they got their asses kicked. And again, it doesn't fall on one guy. I am the Spencer Dinwiddie bum hunting offense. You brought this up, and you're probably much smarter to talk about it than I am.
I hate it so much.
It sucks because he is not good. It is not NBA Street, and it's not 2003. Like, what are we doing? Spencer is great off of quick decision attack. He really is.
Spread pick and roll, finding shooters. Yeah.
When he sizes people up, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's a consequence of with Luka, like they don't want to run 2 different offenses when he's on the floor and when he's off the floor. Like, I don't know if that's part of it, but like, I get it with Luka. Like, that's his bread and butter, right? Is finding the worst defender on the floor, getting them switched onto him and letting Luka cook. And with Spencer, like, they just do the same thing. Like, they act like Spencer is Luka and Spencer is not Luka. And it just gums everything down. Spencer only had 5 assists, 8 of 18. Like, he didn't shoot terribly, but like the offense when he was on the floor without Luka, it was just pound, 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 one screen, size up, pound, 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 shot. And like, you can get away with that with Luka because of Luka's size and his ability to finish around the rim. And Spencer's not horrible around the rim, but Spencer's different. He's just a different player. And I just don't understand why you run that same type of offense.
It was fun when there was a third guard in Brunson where it was 3 different looks.
Yeah. And Brunson can kind of do some of that Luka stuff because Brunson's got such a really good in-between floater kind of mid-post game, and Spencer's not, Spencer is shooting a jumper or slashing and attacking. Like, if you get Spencer into these weird, slow mid-range possessions, like that's not his game. Like, that's not what he's great at. He's great at attacking downhill, getting to the rim and getting the free throw line. And he's really been great at spot up threes. Yeah. And they just didn't do any, they just didn't set screens. They didn't move. There was no motion. And they just kind of were like, all right, Spencer, just run the Luka offense while Luka's sitting down. And it looked awful. It looked horrible. And I didn't like it. But thankfully the Mavericks had a pretty good 3-point shooting night that kind of masked over, I think, a lot of their bad process.
Yeah. Well, and then they missed 11 free throws, which
yeah. Luka missed 5 on his own. That was another thing. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, Tim? Hit free throws.
Yeah, that wasn't good either. But he did make 5 threes, so I guess you can't. Well, I mean, he didn't play any defense either. So, one thing going back to Luka, it's hard to gripe on Luka because, I mean, he literally has to do everything. But I didn't like the energy to start the game. I thought it was weird that he wasn't like more into it. I think he only had 11 points at halftime, and this was a game that started at 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock in Slovenia, and
Yep.
those games are rare. Like he usually plays really well in these early afternoon starts because he knows that finally, like his home country is getting to watch him at a normal time and not have to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning. So for him to start out the way he started out, like he just wasn't very assertive, settled for threes. He did kind of pick it up as the game went on, but then he was missing free throws. He did not shoot well from two, which has been the big part of his efficiency success has been how good he's been shooting on twos and at the rim, and that was gone today. I mean, he missed a lot of shots that he normally takes. He's not playing too well this month, and he's averaging 40 minutes a game. I mean, he's still averaging 30 points per game. He's averaging 39 and 8. But entering this game, he was shooting 44% from the field, which isn't awful, but that's a pretty big drop from what he's been doing the previous months.
Yeah.
And he's shooting 30% from three. Like his three ball's been a little rough this month. So you said it, like, I wonder, are the minutes catching up to him? The season catching up to him? Like, he has, to be honest, he hasn't looked great, consistently great since that double overtime 53-minute game against the Lakers.
Yep.
He had the good game against Miami, and then outside of that, something's been a little off with his shooting efficiency, at least. I hope that didn't, cook him a little bit. And it doesn't help that these games have been close. Like, they're on this losing schneid for the last week or so. And usually he rests to start the fourth. Like he's playing the whole third quarter, and then he's playing.
I don't understand. I don't understand. Is that on him or is that on Jason Kidd?
But I think it's on the team. Like the fact that they can't take him off the floor, though. That's the problem. It's bad, but it's like, what are you going to do? Like they're like this game, they were tied going into the fourth when they had a halftime lead, and they let it completely evaporate in the third quarter. And it's like, what are you going to do? Like if you bench him to start the first 2 minutes of the fourth, do they lose this game by 25 points? Like it's just, they're in a bad place with the way that they're ending some of these third quarters in the last week,
Yeah.
But they have to figure it out.
Well, and so, I'm a little curious. I'm having a debate with during this podcast and with our colleague Matthew about like whether Christian Wood matters, and to me in this game he does not. I suppose the offense might have been a little like, it's more of an indictment on the fact that Dallas doesn't run offense. The further we get in, and I don't know, and that's what I don't know who is at fault there, where it's like in the first quarter, Luka like cut to the basket.
Yeah. And he finished at the rim. That was nice. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm dying of plague. And
No,
I had
it's
to
okay.
pause to cough.
No, it's okay. I could pick up. I mean, the off-ball stuff is something we were talking about in Slack, and it's just like there was a possession in the fourth quarter where he just stood in the corner with his hands on his hips, talking to the ref for half of the possession, while Spencer kind of just dribbled around and then took a jumper, and that pisses me off. But also, it's like a weird catch-22 because it's like, okay, this guy touches the ball almost more than anyone in the league. This guy handles the ball, he literally has to do everything. He has to create everyone's shot besides Spencer and besides Wood, like Hardaway, Finney-Smith, Powell, Reggie, even Josh to a slight degree as well. Like all these guys, he has to get them buckets. They cannot get shots on their own. So every possession down the floor, he has to create all the offense basically on his own. And it's like, how can you ask a guy that does that and is playing almost 40 minutes a night to then be like, hey, on the 5 possessions where you're not initiating or you're not handling the ball, we need you to run around and screen and flash to the rim and cut and do all this stuff. And it's like, he's not Steph Curry, guys. Like he's not, like he does he's like, his conditioning is improved, but he's not a robot. And he's not, this isn't 2K where you can turn the energy sliders down or whatever, so guys don't get tired. Like at some point they have to, and this comes back to the roster. I don't think the roster this current roster just will never allow him to not use almost every possession to the fullest. Like They have to find a way for him to be more balanced throughout the game so that he could finally become a dangerous off-ball threat, because we know that he would be really like, he's too smart and like he's too skilled to not be a fantastic off-ball player.
Right, which gets to like the rub of run plays. Jesus, there are motions beyond Spain pick and roll. Yeah. Do something. And like, that's where I don't know who is at fault, because Luka wants some of this stuff.
Yeah, he definitely wants to play like this for sure.
I don't know. I'm not that mad about the loss in like aggregate, just because, Kawhi is good. Paul George is good. And also Harp, meaning the Mavs radio commentator, please, I too don't like the Clippers, but we've had 2 straight broadcasts where he has said factually inaccurate shit about both Kawhi and Paul George. As he's saying those things, Kawhi and Paul George will cook a Maverick. Like, he made a statement today about how Paul George can't get to the rim anymore as Paul George gets an and one.
Paul George had 8 free throw attempts tonight.
Like, what are we doing? So. No, I get it though, because I don't like him either. Where it's like Harp is like us, where he's seen this team 1,000 times. It's just like, it's like this isn't a team that I hate, and I also do not disrespect, because they are so much better than their record, and they should be so much better. Only they don't ever play. Like, they don't care about the regular season. Well, they have these weird minute load things, and like Kawhi is all of a sudden playing more and more minutes. So it's
surprised they're winning.
That part killed me, because it's like you can tell he's sick of watching them too, because they what was it, my friend?
Is he in the Thanos fine, I'll do it myself mode right now?
Well, it's Matt Moore said to me today, Action Networks and Matt Moore, Clippers have the most Luka answers. That is factually correct. They just do. They have a bunch of 6'7" guys,
and 2 of them are all defense guys,
and they beat the hell out of him. Like, today was not a good refs day for me. Like, that's not why the Mavericks lost, but Luka and company were getting manhandled. So for the Clippers to shoot, 4 more free throws in the Mavericks, I don't know. I felt that was a little wonky, but that's the point. Like, the only way you beat Luka is to get in his head. And that's the Clippers,
that's where you need. That's where you need other guys to do stuff.
The Clippers didn't get in his head tonight. Luka got in his own head. Like, Luka beat himself today a lot, and that is what it is.
Yeah, and like I said, it was before even all the he didn't start. Like, I didn't like opening tip, the body language and everything like that. Something was off from the start. I don't know if the early start kind of got off to him or the minutes load, but it wasn't like
he was playing Saturday night out on the town.
Yeah, it's not like he had a good first quarter and then started getting beat up and then he played poorly. Like, he kind of started the game slow. Okay, before we go, the last thing, I mean, I don't know what else you want to talk about, but I want to make sure
I got one more thing, but sure.
Okay, then let me do my one more thing.
Yeah.
The Dwight Powell minutes, that's on the coaching staff. That's off. That was awful. I don't think he played. I don't think he played in the fourth quarter. And it's pretty clear that they were matching him and Zubac's minutes because Zubac's was the only big that the Clippers played. Otherwise they played 5 out with either Batum or Covington at the 5. And I get wanting to, when a team goes small, you wanting to match them. And I get hey, they have Josh Green now and Finney Smith's back. So they played some, you think Luka, Dinwiddie, Hardaway, Finney Smith, Green, that's cool. That theoretically, that's a great lineup. But that wasn't the game that was being played in front of them. That's theoretically, that's awesome. But what was happening during this game was Dwight Powell was doing a really good job in his minutes, and he was the only player that played 20 minutes or more that was positive. And I know in-game plus minus is not always accurate, but it felt it. He had 9 points and 4 rebounds and 2 assists in 21 minutes. He was perfect from the floor. He had the energy. His defensive energy was good. He was, again, they had a first half lead with Powell playing most of his minutes in the first half. I don't.
There's a correlation there, and the fact that the coaching staff didn't recognize that is what is frustrating.
Right, and we see in the fourth quarter, there's no more Powell screens, and the offense is just turning into this ISO slow Luka into the post show, and no one's getting any separation. And it's like, oh, well, why don't you throw Powell in there for a couple minutes so he can screen for Luka and get some of these guys off his back and get him some separation? And it's like, no, they're just going to keep running into the brick wall with this small lineup that they clearly wasn't as effective as it needed to be. And it was killing me. And I understand the Clippers went small, but Powell had 2 offensive rebounds. Like, he could have done some things, even with Zubac off the floor. And I understand you're scared of Batum or Covington heating up from 3, but I don't know. I think the risk would have been well worth it, considering how Powell was playing in this game and considering just how gross the body language looked in the fourth quarter. Like, Powell, for all his faults, he's not going to stop moving. He's not going to stop playing hard. Like, that's his thing. And I thought that was the coaching staff outthinking themselves huge, like big time. So that really pissed me off. I think they could have won the game if Powell played more.
Maybe because it's, between some more free throws and some slightly better minutes, because Powell does all the things you mentioned is important. So there's one more person I want to talk about, and this is more. So Josh Green had a very challenging game for his third game back. 29 minutes, 2 of 7, 2 rebounds, 2 turnovers, -13.
Yep. Was
he the worst Mavericks player? Absolutely not. But against the Clippers, this was a good example of why I have as a kind of constant critic of the role that Josh Green plays in the discourse. Not Josh Green the player, the sort of emphasis that everyone puts on Josh Green. And honestly, Josh Green's role in like the advanced analytics and how important he is. This was a great example of why I am not into it, because unless he is pretty good, the Mavericks are pretty not good. And for a third-year forward who scores 7 points a game, who could not see the floor his first 2 years, to matter this much is a constant reminder of the failures in process.
Yeah, because like you see him, like
he was bad today, and I'm not even mad at him. It's just he should be allowed to be bad and not have it come back to bite the Mavericks in the ass.
Right. Well, he represents. It's like, well, what if they like acquired another talented perimeter player in the last 4 years
who can dribble?
Right. Like, because every time you see him attack a closeout from the corner and not cough the ball up and do something like competent, like it looks like a different team. And you like that Miami game, he had 12 points and he got to the free throw line 5 times, and we're all, the whole fan base is throwing a parade, and you're like, what? Like, I mean, he played well, but what's going on? It's because the team hasn't had anyone else to do that kind of stuff as a big wing since Luka's been drafted. Like, Bullock and Finney-Smith are not guys that can attack closeouts consistently. And, they had Brunson, and now Brunson's gone. Like, it's really the only 3 guys that can drive the ball on this team consistently are Luka, Dinwiddie, I guess 4, Wood, and then Green. And you look at, and 2 of those, Luka and Dinwiddie are, Luka's Luka, but Dinwiddie's a guard, and Wood is a big. Green is the only like 6'7" wing guy that can do that. And you look at all these other teams around the league that are good, and you look at like Memphis, and you look at Denver, and you look at Boston, and even Milwaukee to a degree, and you look at Brooklyn, and all these teams have like 1 or 2 guys that aren't just besides the stars that are like 6'7" and can attack a closeout. And you just need that. And that's why I think it goes crazy, because people see it and they're like, oh my God, this is exactly what we need. And then it sucks because Green is still a developing player that needs, that's
well, that, and then there's just a fair amount of our colleagues and folks that we watch games with on social media all the time who are 12 years old and simply didn't see the Mavericks and it's just like, oh, like I want folks to go watch Roddy Bobois tape when he was really good. And I it's just, don't tell me that Jaden Hardy's better than him. I don't want to hear that, because as of right this moment, it's not true. Like the tape exists. And it's I like being excited about players. So it's always and I want people to be excited about players. Where with Green and this sort of thing, I constantly get fair shit because I do kick him, but I've been much better about it this year because he's been much better. But it's just he should be allowed to have an off game and the Mavericks not suffer as a result of it. It's way too much emphasis. And unfortunately, the way the team was built, it's where we are. Yeah. Well, Starting a homestand, 1-2 sucks. They play the Wizards next. That like losing that game, I think if the Mavericks lose that game because the Wizards are tanking, then we may have to sound like the alarm. Like that's
a must-win game.
yeah. There's like the West. I mean, the Mavericks are still even after the loss. So I mean, there's going to be basketball played tonight, so that could change. The Mavericks are still 5th in the West,
but the wiggle room is gone.
Yeah,
so they're still 5th. But they are now in a position right now that if they lost like 4 out of their next 5, they will not be.
Yeah, a slide is going to it's crazy that the West is this jammed up where you go down to the 11th team is the Thunder, and they are 2 games back from Dallas. So there's 2 games separating 5 and 11. Yeah, so that's
their rope is gone. Like they
and the narrative will change. Yeah. And so it's just that the Mavericks got to figure out something. And, maybe they will. Maybe it's I'm surprised home cooking hasn't helped them more because they've just been really good at home up until like the last time I need to look into this, but I would bet the last time they lost kind of 2 games in this close of succession at home, it may not have happened this year. I'm just kind of scrolling.
They haven't lost 2 in a row. They haven't lost 2 in a row at home all year.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right, well, we'll be back on that game. When the heck is that game? I just had the schedule
Tuesday.
pulled up. Okay, Tuesday. So we get almost. It's nice that they bumped the game up, and that basically gives 2.5 days off. Which some of these guys look like they could use the rest. So we could use the rest too. Everybody, I hope you're enjoying this game. And like we mentioned last time on the show, if you missed any of the news, because there's sometimes people don't listen to our weekend episodes. Things may be changing with our podcast, not immediately, but in the probably by the end of February, we'll have, more news for you. Just be cognizant. If you're a loyal listener of the show, feel free to reach out with questions, concerns, anything like that. I'll tell you. I appreciate the support we've received the past several days. Please head over to MavsMoneyball.com. There's a lot of stuff there. We've got a good recap coming up from our man Jack and a stats post as well. And there, I'm sure we'll have more things in the coming days. Everybody have a great.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.